What is up, everyone? It's the OOTP GM, and this is the 36th episode of my Detroit Tigers GM Let's Play on Out of the Park Baseball 18. So the audio for this episode is going to be slightly different than in previous episodes. It will not be live audio. When I was cleaning out my computer, I accidentally deleted the live audio file. Normally I have everything organized better, and in this instance I did not have it organized properly, and I accidentally deleted the live audio file. So I'm doing a narration style audio for this World Series episode. So right now I'm just doing a preview for the series. I'm talking about the Phillies record and how they were first in the NL in runs scored, but fourth in runs against. They had a better record than us this year. And we didn't play them again in the regular season, but this is a team that we did have to challenge again. We challenged them last year in the World Series, and we beat them in 7 games, so rematch of instance for them. And then going over their team, they did have a couple of injuries that they were dealing with. Lance McCullers was one of them. They still have pretty much the same pitching staff from last year. Really solid group of starting pitchers. They also have a really good closer that I was talking about right here, Kyle Baraclow, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Had quite a few saves for them, also a really good ERA. And then they still have their really good lineup. They still got Dylan Cozens, who right here I was mentioning how he's probably going to win the MVP in the NL this year. He had another amazing season for them. Then they got Mickey Moniak and JP Crawford and Franco, and just a really great solid lineup. There's a reason why they scored all the runs they did this year. They're just a really solid team top to bottom, and they're just built to be a team that scores runs, but they've also gotten a really good job from their starting pitching too. So game number 1, because of the way that the series ended, it's Alex Faedo that was starting game 1 for us. Because of the 5 games, I think Fulmer wasn't ready for this game, so that's why we had Faedo starting in game 1. And I was fine with that because Faedo was really great for us in the ALCS, and I felt confident giving him an opportunity to go out there and play. So we went ahead and we were getting started here in game number 1, and really, coming into this, I felt like we had a really good chance to win this series. I liked the way that our team was built, and I liked the fact that, I felt we had a really solid starting pitching advantage. I felt we had, really good players across the board. Our lineups were remotely equal. But you can see we jumped out to a lead here, and we are leading them through 5.5. Faedo pitching pretty well for us. We can't really complain about how he's been doing. Man on second here, and, he is... we're trying to, do the best that we can against them. And so it's really just about trying to get through these innings with as little damage as possible. You can see we're 3-1 through 6. No score for us there in the top of the 7th. Philadelphia was actually the team that was hosting the beginning games of the series because they had a better record than us. So we had to deal with we didn't have the DH for the first 2 games of the series, which made lineup changes and some of the other things that we were doing a little bit more difficult that we had to do. It was a little bit challenging in some respects. So, but we blow the game wide open with 4 runs in the top of the 8th. It gives us a 7-1 lead. Faedo's still in the game, but at this point, I was talking about 101 pitches in. I didn't want to burn him out too much, so I decided to get somebody into the game. To finish things off, I ended up picking LeKine to pitch because he hadn't pitched for us at this point in the He hadn't pitched for us yet, so we get 2 more in the top of the 9th. Pretty much a runaway at this point in game 1. This is what you like to see in the first game of the series, and we end up winning game 1, 9-1. Solid start from Faedo in this game for us. 8 innings of work, 7 hits, only 1 earned run though. And then LeKine did a nice 1 inning of work to finish things off. So definitely the way that you want to start. Definitely the way that you want to start the first game of the World Series off, hammering their pitching and getting a lot of run support for your pitcher. So that was the way that we wanted to start the first game. We had Vladimir Guerrero. We lost him briefly, or we didn't really lose him. He just had a day-to-day injury for a couple of days, so nothing too concerning. And talking about how we're not going to be making any big lineup changes, they had their big guy, Nola, going for them in game 2, and we had Walker Buehler going for us in game number 2. So they had their ace, we had Buehler. But I was still confident because Buehler has pitched, even though his regular seasons have not been particularly good recently, he has been really good in the postseason. So I was fairly confident in him going into this game. And as you can see, we got an early lead, 1-0 here. And Buehler was pitching a really great game for us at this point. Still pretty efficient with his pitches. And here it's man on second with 1 out. And giving him a chance to try and get out of this. But then, of course, throws a wild pitch. So that moves the runner up to third. But then he does manage to strike out the pitcher, Nola, which was a big strikeout. We needed that. That brought Moniak up to the plate. And then he strikes out Moniak as well. So managed to maintain the 1-0 lead at this point. And it was just one of those situations where I was trying to make conscious decisions about how I was going to handle the pitching staff again. You can see allows a run at this point. It becomes a 1-1 game. And then now men on first and second with 1 out. So things starting to get a little on hand at this point. I'm like, okay, I need to start getting pitchers warming up because, I don't want things to completely spin out of control for us. I want us to be able to have a chance to, try and do something if necessary. And so we're going to see if he can get himself out of this jam. And unfortunately, that is not the case. And it's going to end up being a home run from Kingery, which is super unfortunate. Buehler had been doing so well up to that point, and just a critical mistake there gives the Phillies the lead. And so at this point, I was like, well, we're going to try and see if he can finish this inning off, but then he allows 2 more guys to reach. And I was like, all right, we got to get somebody in here. So I ended up putting Jimenez into the game instead of Minter, because Minter's more of like a setup guy. So we're giving Jimenez a chance to finish things off here for us. And I think he does manage to induce a fly ball here, or a pop-up rather. Yeah, fly ball looks like. So we managed to get out of the inning, but unfortunately we did allow the 4 runs, which was a little bit disheartening. And I was talking about how we were going to have to go until batter by batter because the pitcher spot could potentially be up, and we want to be able to bring a guy in if we need to. So we're just going through the lineup here, and Nola continues to just mow us down, just absolutely crushing us here. And so 3 up, 3 down there, and they will not get to the pitcher. So Jimenez, we were going to have him come out and pitch another inning for us, and they got a man on second now with only 1 out. And at this point, I was kind of hoping that we could keep it a 3-run game because I felt like the team is so good in terms of our offense that we could strike back even in a situation like that. And Jimenez manages to get us out of it. So it still remains a 3-run game, 4-1 through 7. And obviously with Jimenez coming up to bat, we're gonna take him out. And I ended up bringing LeKind in to warm up, and then I think I put Stewart into the game here. No, I put that's right. I was trying to decide who to put in between a couple of different guys. I ended up going with Stewart, getting him into the game here. So Stewart, and then we ended up getting guys on first and second with no outs. So this was, I was like, okay, we're trying to make a comeback here. But then Vladimir Guerrero strikes out, and that brings up Bryce Harper, and of course he ends up striking out, which was hugely disappointing. I was hoping to get something good from him, but he had a really terrible game today. And then of course Trout with the ground out, and that ends up ending the inning. So we got all those guys on, and we couldn't do anything with it, and so we still down by 3. LeKind comes into the game, and he allows a run, unfortunately. So it makes it a 4-run game heading into the top of the 9th. And, at this point, we're just trying to see if we can get something going because we're trying to, rally. And Todd, gives us a leadoff double, which was nice to see. And then it was Santana that came to the plate. And we were, like I said, at this point I was just hoping to try and make things interesting, and you can see Santana with a RBI double. So now we have run in, it's 5-2, we got a man on second with no outs. I'm thinking, all right, not the ideal part of our order coming up, but we still, have a chance to rally. We scored a lot of runs in a short period of time before. So that was my thought process here was, okay, we have a chance to try and, pull something off. But things got pretty bad pretty quickly. They didn't miss the throw here, so I was a little excited because I'm like, all right, we got first and third, only one out. Tying runs coming to the plate. I have to get rid of LeKine though, because I was mentioning he actually had decent contact for a pitcher, but it's like I have to bring somebody else in. So it's like, all right, I got Rivera. I'm going to bring him in, and then I'm going to get, Minter warming up, just in case we need him. And I also said, you know what, Steckenrider as well, because I was trying to think positive thoughts. That, hey, what if we take the lead here? We're going to need our closer up in this situation. And of course, our pinch hitter strikes out. Kendall's our last hope, and he strikes out as well. And so the Phillies would end up winning game number 2, and they would end up making it a 1-1 series with a 5-1 or 5-2 victory rather. But we get 3 games back at home, so I'm thinking, all right, we're going back home. We get the DH. We get to put some of these guys back into our lineup that we were hoping for, guys that we're excited to have. And I was really excited too because they had Fulmer starting this game, so I'm like, okay, we got our ace starting this game. We have an obvious pitching matchup here. We have everything is going in our favor. I'm thinking, all right, 2-1 series lead. This shouldn't be a problem for us. We'll be in good shape, heading into game number 4. And I was ready for this. I was excited. I'm like, all right, we're gonna do well here. And we get off to a good start. We get 3 runs, bottom of the first, and then of course Fulmer allows 4 in the top of the third. So I was just like, can things possibly get any worse for us? And of course it does, because Fulmer just implodes is the nicest way to put it. He just absolutely implodes here in the next 2 innings, and it was super disappointing to see this from our ace, from our top pitcher, because we're paying him to be our ace, and he's been so great for us during the regular season, but he's really had some shortcomings in the playoffs for us, and it's been super disappointing, really, in a lot of ways, because I would say he's almost had a Clayton Kershaw-esque playoff career. Like Clayton Kershaw he's been better recently, but when he first was in the playoffs, I think his ERA was like over 4, and his record wasn't particularly good. So one of those guys that's just dominant in the regular season, but then the postseason rolls around, and for whatever reason, he just can't get anything done. And unfortunately, that's what it's been like with Fulmer for us. He's been like night and day in the regular season. He's just mowing guys down. He's winning Cy Young awards. He's arguably the best pitcher in the American League, maybe even the best pitcher in baseball the last few seasons in the regular season. And then we get into the playoffs, and it's like he disappears. And so it's just like, what are we supposed to do in a situation like that? And I mean, there's not much you can do. I mean, sometimes guys are going to struggle. And at this point, I mean, we're just falling way behind at this point. They've put up a 10 spot on us now. And we're trying to make a little bit of a comeback here in the run column, but it's gotten to the point, at this point I'm supremely dejected because we got such a poor start from Fulmer. We were forced to burn Paxton, and now we're going to have to bring another guy in. We're bringing LeKine back in, it looks like. And, our offense has scored runs. I mean, we didn't score anything in the last game, but the first 2 games we put up 15 runs at this point, we put up 15 runs, between game number 1 and then this game, but our pitching staff has just, completely failed us at this point, really. I mean, outside of Faedo, in the first game, our pitching staff has really just faltered here as of late, and we just haven't been able to overcome our pitching deficiencies, and that's really, it's been the polar opposite of what we got in the first 2 rounds. I mean, against Cleveland and against New York, our pitchers were mowing through guys, and it was just, it was a fantastic performance all around, and then you get to a situation like this, and coming up small on the biggest stage, it's just there's no other way to describe it but disappointing. So we get to this point now, and like I said, they put up 11 runs on us, and at this point, I'm just hoping for anything, any kind of miracle to try and get us jump started. But I wasn't expecting much at this point because it's kind of hard to come back from that far of a hole. A little bit of a rally here, guys on first and third with one out, and then Regan Todd up to bat, and they walked him. So I'm thinking, all right, well, there's a little bit of hope here. We need something. Obviously, a grand slam obviously would have been fantastic, but just some runs to get a rally going, so we can try and do something, and really just never really got anything going at this point. I mean, we scored the one run, but at this point, I'm just kind of resided to the fact that we're probably going to lose the game. We end up losing the game 11-7, and that gives Philly a 2-1 series lead. And so, extremely dejecting, as I was mentioning there, to get such a poor start from Fulmer, because we were expecting so much more from him. We felt like we had the big advantage in terms of the pitching matchup, and just didn't get anything from him. And here I make a radical change to our team. With Pentecost struggling so mightily in the postseason, I benched him for Wyatt Cross. And then I'm going to make a lineup move as well. I'm going to move Eves up in the lineup to the number 7 spot. At this point, anything to try and get our offense sparked. That's pretty much what I was thinking at this point was, anything to spark our offense, anything to get, those guys going, because we need to score the runs. If our pitching staff isn't going to help us, we need to score the runs. And again, it's another situation where we're put in an early hole by another poor start from our starter. And again, Burrows was really good for us in the postseason last year, and I think he was pretty good in the first 2 rounds too, if I remember correctly. And just our pitching staff just failing us. I mean, obviously we haven't scored any runs yet, but it's really hard on a team when you fall behind so early in a game, and you're just trying to dig yourself out of a hole. And you can see here we're nothing, just absolutely nothing. And we got some solid work from Brady Scott in relief, but it's really dejecting when your pitchers put you in a hole, and then your offense is struggling to score runs. And you can see at this point, 9-0. We've only got 2 hits today, and even getting those little 2 runs there is nice, but it's just to the point now where we're like, we got nothing. And so we lose 9-2. We fall behind 3-1. And at this point, one of the things that I was mentioning was, if our starters don't turn around, we have 0 chance of coming back in this series. And ultimately, I said, if we're going to win this series, we have to get good starts from our starters. We had Faedo coming back up, so I'm like, okay, I trust Faedo to give us another really good start. He's been really excellent for us. I made the same move that I had made before. I moved Eves up in the lineup. I brought Cross into the take Pentecost place. And at this point, we're just trying to extend the series. We're just trying to force a Game 6 back in Philadelphia. And, really just trying to get a good start from our starting pitching. You can see we get off to a 2-1 lead through 3 innings, which was nice to see. And then, of course, Philadelphia gets the lead right back, 3-2. Then we tie the game, 3-3. So, even though Faedo's not having his best start so far, he's keeping us in the game, which is the most important thing, because that's the problem that we've had the last 2 games, and really the last 3 games, is our starting pitchers haven't been keeping us in the game, and we've been falling behind, and then we can't stay close. And so they take the lead there. They put up 4 runs, which, again, it's not a great start, but at least it's something to keep us close. Like, we haven't had that opportunity the last few games. So here I'm looking at, guys potentially bring in relief because Faedo's tired at this point. And we get the tying run in the bottom of the sixth, so 4-4 through 6. We bring Kella into the game to try and keep things close. And he does allow a run. So 5-4 at this point, I'm thinking, all right, we got to get something, and we get sparked with a huge 3-run bottom of the 7th that gives us a 7-5 lead. So I'm thinking, all right, we got our back end of our bullpen. We haven't used Steckenrider at all in this series yet. That was one of the things that I was commenting on, is we haven't had to use Steckenrider at all at this point because none of the games have been close enough. One, we haven't been winning games, but two, the games haven't been close enough to where we've needed him. So we have a 7-5 lead. We're bringing our closer in to try and close this out and force a game number 6, and he does. So we managed to get a win, 7-5 in game number 5 to force game number 6 back in Philadelphia. And we get an okay, not great start from Faedo, but again, enough to keep us in the game. And that was really the big point. We really needed something like that. We really needed a big start there. And now we come to game number 6. Walker Buehler getting the start for us. And I was mentioning about whether I was going to keep Pentecost in or if I was going to start Cross, and I ultimately decided to start Cross again because Pentecost has been so bad in the playoffs. Then we moved Eves back up in the lineup again. And that was pretty much it. I don't think there's any other moves that I was really talking about. I was mentioning some guys that I might look to put in at other positions if I was going to substitute anybody else in, but I decided to keep the lineup the way it was and see if we can force a game number 7. Because the offense hasn't been a big problem. We've had a couple of rough starts, but the offense really hadn't been a big problem for us. It had been the pitching staff. And you can see we went down early, but then we scored 2. And then it's a 2-2 game through 2. And then 2-2 game through 3. And, it's a pitcher's duel at this point. We have 2 more to make it a 4-2 game through 4.5. And then trying to see if Buehler can get himself out of a jam. And he gets a strikeout there, so now 2 outs. And Cozen's up to bat, and Cozen's going to get a ground out. So now 4-2 through 5. And this is going to be the defining moment for the entire series right here. Is Buehler is at 77 pitches, and he is potentially going to be coming up to bat here. So they bring Buehler up, and my thought was, do I leave Buehler in the game and just let him hit and try to get something? He's only at 77 pitches, or do I pinch hit for him and bring in a reliever? And that's what I decided to do. I decided to bring in Rivera to pinch hit for him because at this point, my logic is we're going to try to put more runs up on the board, give ourselves a bigger lead. And I trusted, Scott had been so good for us in relief. I trusted Scott to be that guy that was going to, he was going to carry things through for us for a couple of innings for us to get to our closer. And he blows up and allows 5 runs. And at this point, I'm just shocked and I'm depressed and I'm upset because I realize I may have just made the worst call I could have possibly have made and thrown away the World Series. By not letting Buehler stay in the game, I may have just thrown away the series because I brought Scott in and Scott just completely imploded on us. And we went from having a 2-run lead to now we're down by 4. And you can see Kroll now is imploding as well. He's going to allow another run. And this game has just done a complete 180 on us. And I was completely crushed because our dreams of winning another World Series were slipping away at this point. We had every opportunity to win this game, and we just couldn't do it. And now we're coming down to the end of the game, and they put up 2 more runs. And at this point, I'm just like, it's over. There's 0 chance that we have of winning this game. I'm just going through the motions at this point right now because I know we've lost. I know that I made a terrible decision by taking Buehler out, and I lost the game for us. And that was this. I mean, at the time it made sense, but it was a terribly, terribly stupid decision in hindsight. And I'm going to relive that decision in my head now for probably the rest of the series because it could ultimately prevent us from winning a bunch in a row. And there you see the Phillies finished off and they won the World Series. And I don't want to take anything away from the Phillies. They have a great team. They outpitched us. Their hitters came up big when they needed it. And ultimately they deserved to win. But it would have been nice to at least try to get that to a Game 7. And the fact that I made such a poor call there, taking Buehler out of the game, is a decision I'm going to have to live with. I'm going to have to live with the fact that I made an ultimately terrible, terrible decision. So, but at this point, guys, I'm going to wrap up the narration here. The next episode will be the off-season review episode, which will take place at the beginning of the 2024 season. But I just want to thank you guys for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next episode.